Good morning everyone, Tater here and welcome to Tater Games. Today we're actually going to be talking about working as a team or working as an individual, two things that are extremely important and very common to have either one in this field. So let's do it. I thought we'd just start off with a few because, I personally haven't been part of a team very often, but I have been a part of a team once, and it kind of explained why I haven't been part of a team ever again. So there's a bit like a story time actually. So in university, I was doing something related to game dev within uni, and one of the things we were assigned to do at the very start of our year was to create a board game or card game. I forgot which one it was. And we were supposed to do this either as a team or as an individual. So typically we meet people on our first day of university. We meet all these people, and then after a few weeks you kind of get used to certain ones, and I kind of wanted to try as a team because I've never done that before. It's always usually just been just me or me and some friends who will take a beating. Anyway, straight to the story. We had an idea for a game based on Twitch Plays Pokemon, if you remember that, which was Twitch playing a thing, and it was a card game where you kind of slam down directional cards that move a character each turn, but you don't know what the directional cards are, so it's very hard to try and move a certain character. It's basically everybody working on one little character. Anyway, during the production of this game, it was going a direction I didn't want it to go, and of course I was with two incredibly cool people. I'm not going to deny that. One of them is actually quite a famous person. That good old YouTube fame. One day. Anyway, whilst we were making the game itself, it went a direction I didn't want it to go, which was sort of treating the game a bit as a joke, and typical moi wants to kind of make it slightly serious. And so what I decided to do was keep the exact same idea. I had a talk with them and of course split and did my own sort of individual work. We weren't forced to stay in the team that we started with. All of that type of stuff was supposed to go in our blogs or our, just blogs. And what I ended up doing was a very similar game to theirs, except mine took a bit more of a serious standpoint and theirs took a bit more of a humorous standpoint. From that day, I kind of realized that I wasn't actually a team player or a team person. I kind of like to be in control, and this has its upsides and its downsides. It's very hard for me to work with people, which I guess is a downside. But the upside is I know what I want, and if I have to complete everything by myself, usually I will try and learn everything by myself. The downside of that is that you have to learn everything by yourself and do everything by yourself, and if you're not good in one field, you have to kind of push that little bit extra than people who work in a team do. The reason why I'm talking about this is actually because somebody messaged me saying that they don't know where to progress from here. They haven't heard about sort of mini game dev things. They play a lot of games and they're like, maybe this is the field for me. And I thought, hey, you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing when I was 18. Didn't really know what I wanted to go into, had an interest in gaming, and I kind of just went with the game development sort of path, even though I have never made a successful game ever. Well, it depends on how you judge success. Anyway, from that story I learned that, hey, I can't actually work with people very well. So I never have since, except for a few days ago when I actually made a song with somebody else. Given the song was made in a very short amount of time, it was not actually 100% to my liking, but I think that was partially because I kind of wanted to make the entire thing myself. And the person who I made it with, this is no offense to you, by the way, you did a wonderful job. It's just all in here, I can't get out the idea that somebody else is making something, and if it's not perfectly to what I want, I'm not going to like it. When it comes to game development and you guys out there who are looking for team members and stuff like this, usually you shouldn't excel in every single area, but you should have a rough knowledge of every single area. So team players are always good at their topic or their role in the team. If they're wanting to be the artist, the 3D artist, whatever, they do those things very specifically. They don't necessarily need knowledge of the rest, but it's always good to have that. So going from a solo to a team is very easy. Going from a team member to a solo developer is slightly harder because you need to learn a lot more. First world problems. When I make games by myself, there are a few risks involved. For example, I take all the blame for anything that happens or anything that goes wrong. There is no one else to blame, which I think is just brilliant, because if you are in control of the entire thing, yeah, I guess you should take responsibility for all the flaws in that. When you are in a team, it's a lot kind of team breaking or trust breaking and stuff like that when things go wrong and somebody blames you or somebody blames someone else. I have actually worked in teams a lot more than once. The things that are wrong with it is that you get too many opinions when you've got too many people like me who want control over the entire project. So whenever you're working as a team, you should always have one person as sort of the main guy who takes responsibility for everything, given it may not be his fault, it may not be her fault, but there should always be one person who is able to control the rest, and the rest should equally be as minion as you're supposed to be. For example, if there's one person who comes up with all the ideas and then pitches it to the rest, and then I guess everyone gives their opinion, and then teams never work so perfectly every time. There are always conflicts. While we were making our game, another one was coming up with an actual idea. We had inspiration from a lot of places, and of course this is one of our first projects, so we take it very seriously. But then as time goes on, you know, you're coming up with your own things, and every time they get shut down, you're like, but it's better than your idea. Again, it's all opinion, and it doesn't really matter too much at the end of the day. It's just a project. It's always good to control the opinions by having one person being decisive on everything. Of course, you can have them based on communal decision, I guess. When you are working with people for the first time, it's pretty important to be a bit resilient. You don't want to come across as too opinionated, especially when you're working with other people who have done this for a very long time. It's a lot easier for them if you just become a little bit passive. So if you are new to a group, it's good to refrain from being too outspoken. Actually, that can change depending on what type of people you're with. For example, if you're with people who have done it for such a long time, but they're looking for someone who is quite outspoken and has a lot of ideas and has a lot to bring to the table, sometimes that's just a risk that you can take and it will turn out very well. Keep the hair down. It's still coming out. This beanie's not working. I thought that would go on, sorry. And of course, overall, I prefer solo because I have a lot more control over the final outcome, but this comes with its downsides of not being able to actually do every little component that I want to do. For example, the game that you guys see me make in the Making the Game for $0 budget video, of course, there are so many flaws in that I just really suck at. But the things I think I'm really good at, which may or may not be true, I think I performed pretty well. However, it's not to a standard that would work well in a team. It's to a very average standard. If I was to work in a team and take the things that I'm best at, it may not be as good as somebody who's actually focused on that in a team sort of environment. This applies to some of us, but not all of us. There are very few games out there that are extremely successful that have been made by one person in comparison to all the games that have been made by a team or a group. Those usually turn out incredibly well. When we talk about games made by an individual, usually there is a bit more personal, sort of a personal side to it. When you talk about teams, you start talking about the company, and of course that is just a target that doesn't really exist. So you can't really complain too much about a team doing something because no one knows who's to blame there. I guess some people out there are going, yeah, I know exactly who to blame. But anyway, I thought we'd just have a little casual talk about that. It's not that big a deal, and it's probably not that very interesting a video actually. Should have thought about that before I started. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week so far. Hope you guys are getting a lot done. I do love seeing your projects, so just DM me on Discord if you guys want to chat or stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to go and enjoy my day, have myself a lovely cup of coffee, and for those asking, no, I'm not a father. This is just a mug. It's a bit. That's basically it. I know this video was a lot shorter than the rest and a bit more casual, but I like the casual side. I truly believe that it's a bit more personal and it's kind of a bit more interesting for me because I just like to blab on and rant on. Anyway, I'll see all of you guys tomorrow so that we can do a video on movies that would make great games, according to my list. Pretty much for those people who don't have any ideas, here are some ideas. Tomorrow. See you then.